Hello peoples of the interweb, it's Yoda New Zealand, and after many years of being an Oculus Rift supporter, I've now turned to the other side. I'm using an HP Reverb. And this is just a short video to compare the Reverb in DCS against the Rift S. So why did I buy a Reverb when I had a perfectly good Rift S? Simply because of the resolution, and it's most definitely a step up from the Rift S. It's the 31st of December, and after the last big update from DCS, the resolution is almost screen-like, is what I'm seeing in the Reverb right now. So I'm really pleased that I've made that jump. The Reverb was easy to set up, although I did have to upgrade to Windows 1903, but I basically followed the steps laid out in a website called VR for DCS. I'll put the link in the description. That had many helpful tips, and I was able to get it up and running really quickly. In my settings, and I'll show you those now, I'm getting about 30 to 45 FPS. Although there was one occasion where it did drop down to 17 while I was in a Tomcat. It was on the golf map. I was sitting in an airfield, which I can't remember which one, watching some of my teammates land, and it just slowly dropped down and down and down. I was recording at the time, so that may have had an impact, but now pretty much see 30 to 45. What you will note is I've dropped my pixel density to 1.5, which I used to use for the Rift S, down to 1.2, and it's still better than the Rift S. But at 1.5 there was a tremendous amount of lag that I was getting using the Reverb. At 1.2 I don't see any lag whatsoever. Now the Reverb is quite comfortable. It's sort of a cross between the CV1 and the Rift S. The Rift S had that halo head attachment, which I was sort of 50-50 on whether I like it or not. The Reverb has got the Velcro on the side with the stretchy straps, much the same as the CV1, which I found quite comfortable, but it also comes with the headphones, which the Rift S didn't do, and I ended up buying some aftermarket ones for that. Before I was going to buy the Reverb, there were three things that sort of worried me about it. The first was the sweet spot. There was a lot of talk on the internet about how small the sweet spot was in the lenses and whether that would be a problem. Turns out that it's not a problem for me. My IPD is 62 or close enough to it, and I don't have any problem with a sweet spot. If I'm looking at the instrument panel and I sort of move my eyes about 45 to the left to see a instrument, yes, it's blurry, but to fix that all you do is move your head slightly and it's perfectly clear. So you very quickly learn your way around the sweet spot, and it's very sharp. There was also quite a bit of chatter on how thick the cable is and how annoying it was. Now I only do sitting down games, so I'm either flying or driving, so I don't do any room scale stuff or anything like that, and I would have to say there's no issue with the cable. It's no more annoying than the Rift S cable. You just come to terms with it when you're dogfighting and things like that, so that was no issue for me whatsoever. Also read about the tracking. It's inside out tracking. It has less, the Reverb has less cameras than the Rift S, but I've yet to have any issues with the tracking. It's been really good, although I do have a well lit room and there's plenty of contrast for those cameras to pick up, so no issues with the tracking whatsoever. What I don't like about the Reverb, although it was easy to set up, it certainly wasn't as easy as Oculus Rift. The Oculus software was seamless, seems to connect easy with everything, but with the Reverb you have to use the Windows Mixed Reality software, and then the Windows Mixed Reality for Steam software, all becomes a bit of an issue. I think it's potentially a resource hog, although with my system I'm running it okay. It has annoyed me with some of the recordings I've been doing. I used to use voice meter banana to separate out all my comms channels, but I was having issues with Windows mixed reality software switching things off and on, and in the end I just stopped using voice meter, unfortunately. The only other issue I have with the reverb is the sensitivity of the tracking, but only when I'm recording. When I'm playing the game and I have the headset on, it looks perfectly normal, it's smooth and everything like that. But when I review my recording, even when I think I'm sitting still, the camera seems to be shaking. So it makes it look a bit stuttery or jerky or things like that. It just seems to be that the sensitivity that's coming from is much higher than the Oculus Rift, which tends to detract from the recording a wee bit. I've been looking at ways of how to get around that, but I haven't found that yet. But they're really the only two things, and they don't really overwhelm the exceptional resolution that I'm getting from it now, and the main reason why I bought it. So should you buy one? Yep, certainly if you have the system to support the extra horsepower you need, I think it's a good purchase. It's light, easy to use. The improved resolution makes a big difference, particularly when reading cockpit instruments, or as I found out the other day, my Huey was broken. I was on the ground, but I was watching a dog fight that was about 30 miles away. Just seeing the pixels move, I wouldn't have been able to do that with the Rift S, but with this it's absolutely no problem. Yeah, I'd certainly buy one. However, if you didn't have one, if you didn't have a VR headset and someone offered you a Rift S, what I wouldn't say is, no, I don't want that, I'll wait and save up and buy a Reverb. I'd go straight to the Rift S. There's nothing wrong with it. It's actually a really good system. Overall, I'm really pleased that I've made the transition. As I say, there are a few issues with my recording and the sensitivity, but it's comfortable. The resolution seems to overwhelm everything. It's so much better. I'm pleased I've made that decision. But a couple of final thoughts as I recall them. With the Rift S, I used to do 50-50 Rift and track IR. Certainly if I was building maps and things like that, I would go to track IR because it was a bit easier on the eyes. But I found that since having the Reverb, I haven't used my track IR whatsoever. And I have to say the map screen is crystal clear using the Reverb, as good as the screen. And the last thing I'll add is, if you look at my 2019 video, TFK video, right at the end you'll see me forming up with another F-18 at dawn with the colour on the aircraft and things like that. I would have to say that's probably the best experience I've had in VR. It looks so natural, so crystal sharp, that it just reinforced why I bought the Reverb. Very pleased with it. The Rift S is still a good machine, and if you have one, that's great. But if you've got the machine to run it, I'd certainly have a look at the Reverb. Cheers, guys.